Our worlds are in danger. To save them and the galaxy, we must find the 4 cyber planet keys before the Decepticons can use them for evil. It is our mission. Hotshot, Jetfire, Vector Prime, Landmine, Scattershot, Optimus Prime, Transform and roll out!
Transformers, more than meets the eye.
Autobots, Decepticons!
Transformers, robots in disguise.
Transformers! Transformers! The Autobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons!
Nope, not dead yet. Although, my computer was for a couple weeks, and on top of that, college finals and me being unhappy with another video I was working on, it's been way too long since I've uploaded. So let's fix that, shall we? I won't go into everything here, but essentially I had another video that was midway through the editing process when all those previously mentioned issues came up, and once everything got sorted, I realized the video wasn't shaping up how I wanted it to. I can explain more at some point if you're creepy and want everything about me, but that's not why you're here. You're here because we're talking about Transformers Infinity War. If I told you there was a story involving heroes battling a villain and his henchmen over a set of powerful colored space objects that collect into a device that harnesses their power, which puts the fate of the universe at stake, you might think I'm talking about Infinity War, because you're uncultured. Real people of culture know that I'm referring to Transformers Cybertron, which Marvel shamelessly copied and got lots of money from, twice. Now some of you might say, but Viri, Marvel did the Infinity Gauntlet story in 1991, and you'd be wrong again, because as we all know, the books don't matter. It's pretty clear that Marvel is jealous of Transformers' success, and so they just copied Transformers and stole all the credit.
I just wanted to be like you.
And I wanted you to be better.
I also refuse to accept that Captain Marvel beat Transformers 3, so it's clear that Marvel has been cheating to beat Transformers for quite some time. But I'm here to expose them, so let me tell you about the show Marvel doesn't want you to know about. Transformers Cybertron first aired mainly on Cartoon Network for the US and TV Aichi in Japan in 2005 and went on for one season. It only got one season because it was so good they decided to leave the show as it was because there was no way they could top what they created. In Japan they called this show Galaxy Force if you wanted the full anime experience. I didn't watch the Japanese version though because I still hold a grudge about Pearl Harbor. Cybertron was supposed to be the third show in a trilogy that included Armada, Energon, and Cybertron. But that never really happened because Energon was so good they didn't want to be put next to it since they'd look worse by comparison. Anyway, let's get into the plot. In a nutshell, there's a big scary black hole that's going to eat everyone, and it especially wants to eat the Transformers' homeworld, Cybertron. To stop the giant depression orb from sucking them, Optimus Prime and the other Autobots go hide on Earth. The Autobots run into the token human kid characters on Earth named Kobe, Bud, and Lori, who they take around with them on missions and only nearly get them killed a handful of times.
Hey! We gotta get out of here! Scattershot!
It's too late!
They build a secret base inside some mountain and start working on a plan to stop the giant ball of death that's about to consume the galaxy. To do this, they try a big net. You might think that sounds stupid, but you're actually the stupid one here because somehow it almost works. Now that their master plan has failed, though, the Autobots decide that collecting all the Infinity Stones is their next best option. But unfortunately for them, Megatron, Starscream, and the other Decepticons are trying to collect the Infinity Stones too, so they can, become big. Which I guess is evil according to Optimus.
I will stop you!
But I think the Autobots are just intolerant to tall people. And so to grossly condense dozens of episodes, the Autobots and kids go from planet to planet meeting new people who are also all Transformers for some reason, collecting the Infinity Stones. There's Velocitron, the racing planet, Gigantion, the planet of the giant construction workers, Earth, because of course, and Jungle Planet, the no seriously that's what it's called planet. While they're collecting all the Infinity Stones, they keep them all plugged into their Infinity Gauntlet, and unlike Infinity War, they've been getting all the stones before the bad guys so far. It looks like everything's going all So the absolute mad lad that is Starscream betrays Megatron, tanks his way through about a dozen Autobots, fights Optimus Prime, almost murders some kids, and steals the Infinity Gauntlet with 3 of the 4 stones, all for himself. And I've never been prouder. Starscream then snaps his fingers, wiping out half of all life in the universe, and retreats to his farm to watch the sun rise on a grateful universe. Nah, just kidding, he makes himself really tall, but he's not that big yet, and the Autobots manage to get the Infinity Gauntlet back. Also, Hotshot, Red Alert, and Scattershot kinda died on Megatron when he shoots them a million times, but not really because they just come back. The Autobots then use the Gauntlet to awaken Primus, the Transformer God, who was Cybertron the whole time, and so now Cybertron is just a very big boy. Starscream uses Primus's big boy powers to make himself a big boy too, but Primus slaps him back down to being a small boy. The Autobots then find out that the last Infinity Stone is on the giant construction worker planet. The only minor complication is that the planet is in another dimension because it fell out of the space-time continuum. No big deal though, because Red Alert makes a vaccine from a sword. That means they can all go there and have their bodies and minds not separate.
I like my mind in my body. Don't worry, we've managed to create a vaccine program based on technology from Vector Prime's sword.
Oh! Okay! In that case, do you think you could elaborate?
Unfortunately, Jetfire is anti-vax, so he doesn't go and dies from the plague instead. The Decepticons show up on the planet too, featuring a bootleg Soundwave, while Megatron goes to speak to the manager and gets beat up. Fortunately for Megatron, he can use the planet's Infinity Stone to turn into Galvatron. Starscream tries to fight Galvatron for the Gauntlet, but Galvatron then yeets Starscream, Soundwave, and Sideways, who I forgot to mention, into the Doom Dimension and then takes the Infinity Gauntlet for himself, now with all 4 stones. Instead of wiping out half of all life though, he just makes the black hole even blacker and holier. Megatron apparently wants to wipe out all life in the universe so that he can remake it in his image, and that's when you realize that this is just Endgame.
Shred this universe down to its last atom. And then, with the stones you've collected for me, create a new one, teeming with life. A grateful universe.
Born out of blood.
They'll never know it, because you won't be alive to tell them.
I will live on while all the planets are totally annihilated.
But how?
I possess the Omega Lock and the Cyber Planet keys, as well as the power to rule and create a new universe. The way I want it.
I'm not mad though. Imitation is the purest form of flattery. To get back to their home dimension and stop Galvatron from voring the entire universe, Vector Prime uses his powers to sacrifice himself and send everyone home. The Autobots then all go fight Galvatron, who is now quite the big boy, but he's a sore loser and tries to yeet the Infinity Gauntlet into the deep dark sadness sphere. But Optimus Prime catches it and gives it to Primus, and the stones are used to snap the black hole out of existence. So what did we learn? Yes, they may have stopped the black hole, but that's not the real story here. With all the new people we met, the betrayals and changes of heart, the many struggles and inner conflicts, maybe saving the universe wasn't the real adventure. Maybe the adventure was the friends we made along the way.
Galvatron's back to challenge Optimus to one final battle! Hitting back and forth, flying across Cybertron. Optimus is hit with a super blast, who deflects the next shot with his bare hand and flies Galvatron into the moon! Kicks and flips and punches, each of them getting beaten down. Galvatron summons a sword and cuts Optimus' wing. He's about to kill him, but then Vector Prime uses space magic to save him, gives Optimus his sword. Optimus and Galvatron charge each other, and Optimus shatters Galvatron's sword and impales him.
I still function. You haven't won. Not while my spark still burns.
You fought well. Goodbye, Galvatron.
So then they make space United Nations, and the Autobots and Decepticons live happily together. The end. Overall, pretty good story, not gonna lie. In all seriousness, I think if you touched up the dialogue and made some tweaks to the plot, you could have a pretty decent story. The overall plot about collecting the Cyber Planet keys to save the galaxy is a fine premise for a show, and it opens up some nice shifts in power and dynamics depending on who controls the Omega Locks in each key. There's an overbearing theme in the show that's about working as a team and finding strength in your friends, which the show is very heavy-handed with, but it's a good message overall. A lot of the messages in the show are usually pretty heavy-handed as well, but I wouldn't necessarily say that's bad. It just makes the dialogue pretty clunky when one of the characters openly just starts talking about the message behind what's happening.
You see, Starscream, when you betray those around you, you've got no one you can rely on.
But when you're part of a team, you never stand alone!
It really is a valuable lesson, but some people just have to learn the hard way.
The character's not too bad either, although admittedly a lot of them are generic and forgettable. And of course they butcher Soundwave, but hey, at least his reanimated corpse made it into the show. Even a bad Soundwave is better than no Soundwave. I'm not pointing fingers or anything.
What up? All you bots out on the floor, get ready to rock it.
You call that knocking it off?
Oh, chill out, kitty cat. His name is Soundwave.
Identity theft is not a joke, Jim.
Now if you wanted to know about the human characters, you're lying because nobody does. Although there are characters that stand out or are pretty likable, such as Thunderblast, Scourge, Jetfire, Vector Prime, Optimus, as always, and of course my boy Starscream. Again, in all seriousness, Starscream is possibly my favorite Transformer, and Cybertron Starscream is one of my favorite iterations of the character. While not as nuanced as his Armada version or as classically backstabbing and opportunistic as his G1 version, this Starscream gets work done. This Starscream is not only one of the toughest fighters out there, but his backstabbing schemes actually work for the most part, and ends up nearly winning several times and achieving near god status, where he can only be defeated by Primus himself. When this Starscream wants something, he gets it. He doesn't care how many Autobots or Decepticons he has to go through. That scene I mentioned earlier about Starscream fighting all the Autobots and drawing away Optimus so he can steal the Omega Lock and his 3 keys is honestly one of my favorite moments in all of Transformers. I just love the way Starscream relentlessly pushes forward through everybody in his way, getting battered and damaged by attacks, his body and voice getting noticeably worn down, yet he just keeps coming. Every time you think he's finished, he powers through and uses every last bit of strength to achieve his goal, which he is hell-bent on. All the while he makes a mix of intimidating and snarky comments, which is voiced pretty nicely.
The key. Hand it over.
No way, pal. Not on my watch.
Sorry, pal. Your watch is over.
And then to top it all off on his last bit of strength while he's barely alive, he defeats Optimus not by fighting, but by playing into his weakness and draws him away just long enough to escape with his prize.
No! It can't end like this!
Almost got it.
Your team is your strength, Optimus, but it's also your one weakness.
A missile! But the kids! Kobe? Lori? Bud? Are you all right? Huh?
It's mine at last. The power of Primus.
I could make an entire video about that scene alone, but I fanboyed about Starscream for long enough now. That Starscream fight is probably the highlight of the show though, so don't expect every single fight and character to be on the same level. While there are some good fights in battle, such as the Starscream one or Optimus and Galvatron's final battle, a lot of the fights and battles are just shooting lots of massive explosions back and forth, and occasionally some punches, until someone uses their Cyber Key power and the other side either uses theirs too, gets blown away, or retreats. Speaking of which, every Transformer has what they call a Cyber Key power, which is where they summon their corresponding Infinity Stone type to activate a certain ability, which is usually either a big go frick yourself gun, a large stabby stabby, or a speed boost. This is because they needed a gimmick for the toys, and if you haven't noticed, the models in the show are literal exact copies of the toys. Whenever they activate a Cyber Key power or transform, they'll often play a stock animation of them powering up or transforming, and the transformations are pretty much just tutorials on how to transform the toys. Since the show models are based off the toys, not the toys based off the show, you have the issue where a lot of the characters seem fake and stiff, and it's not just from the dated 2005 animation. The toys are pretty limited in their range of movement, and so in the show, if the characters exceed that range, they look a bit off. So characters just seem to stand around in a regular pose, they try and avoid full body shots of someone running or even walking. That's also why characters tend to fly around a lot, less to animate. The animation is another thing I'm sure immediately draws everyone's attention, and I understand why. The 3D animation is a bit stilted and awkward at times, yet the 2D animation is pretty nice. I would have absolutely loved to see the entire show in 2D, but I realized it would have been a lot more time and money that was likely outside that production value. Kind of going along with the animation, the sound effects are good, but nothing to write home about. They got the job done and fit well, but I don't really know what else to say. The show boom, you hear a boom, 10 out of 10, you didn't screw it up. Along with sounds, we have voice acting. There are some voices that are annoying to me, but nobody makes me want to sign up for the Kamikazes like Wheelie did, so I guess they're alright. Optimus and Megatron feature their B-team voice actors, being Gary Chalk and David Kay respectively. And so of course, they know these characters and do a good job as always. Last bit for sound is, of course, music. Most Transformers shows and movies have had some great, or at least distinct music above all else, and Cybertron decided to meet us halfway probably because the budget ran out again. The non-action songs range from giving me Vietnam flashbacks to early 2000s kids shows, to making me rethink joining the Kamikazes. But luckily the action songs hype me up so much that I forget how stilted the animation is, probably because the music has made my brain revert back to the mind of a 6-year-old as I gleefully watch Optimus slam Galvatron into a moon. I hope those analogies made sense because we're moving on. And by moving on, I mean finishing the video. I really don't have much else to talk about. That, and I don't want this video to last over 20 minutes like the one I scrapped for this. Because I certainly could talk indefinitely about Transformers until all my viewers have prematurely ended their subscription to being alive, but I actually need to upload within the decade, so let's not waste time. So anyway, that was Transformers Cybertron. I'm glad I could share with you the wonders of mid-2000s Transformers and expose Marvel for the shameless thieves that they are. Some of you may think I'm biased because I grew up with the show and it's possibly my first introduction to Transformers. And for once in this video, you'd be correct. The only issue is, I just don't care.
Our worlds are in danger. To save them and the galaxy, we must find the 4 cyber planet keys before the Decepticons can use them for evil. It is our mission. Hotshot, Jetfire, Vector Prime, Landmine, Scattershot, Optimus Prime, transform and roll out!